From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Holiday travel woes, with today being one of the busiest travel days of the year. Making your way to your Thanksgiving destination could take a Christmas miracle.
And I'm tracking some big changes in that holiday forecast. I'll break down the details coming up in just minutes.
Plus, a soldier's best friend, how one organization is helping veterans with PTSD or traumatic brain injuries find comfort in their furry friends.
Cronkite News starts now.
Millions of Americans packing their bags ready to spend time with their loved ones this Thanksgiving.
But the journey to get there could be a challenge, and Sky Harbor Airport is asking travelers to pack lots of patience. Good evening, I'm Madison LaBerge.
And I'm Daria Yasmin. Even though the rain we're expecting to see across the valley may not cause many flight delays, Sky Harbor says with winter watches, warnings, and advisories lined up from California to Michigan, there could be a ripple effect that leads to delays and cancellations right here in Phoenix.
A record 31.6 million passengers will travel on the U.S. airlines during the Thanksgiving holiday period, according to a forecast done by Airlines for America. That's up 3.7% from last year.
Sunday, December 1st is expected to be the busiest travel day ever for the U.S. airline industry, with 3.1 million passengers expected that day, according to the organization's estimates.
The second busiest day of the holiday period is today, with 2.98 million people flying the day before Thanksgiving.
Sky Harbor says, as always, make sure to check on your flight status before heading to the airport and to check message boards once you're there.
This holiday weekend, AAA expect more than 55 million people to be traveling, and that's the most on record since 2005.
And those 55 million people may not only be hindered by long airport security lines, there are also health concerns. Today, I spoke to Megan Lammy, who works inside Sky Harbor's Urgent Care Center, about how you and your family can avoid catching more than just a flight.
Diligent hand washing is critical. I know a lot of people carry sanitizer with them when they're traveling, and the airport provides it, often. We do offer flu shots, and so if people haven't gotten their flu shot, they can get it here while at Phoenix Sky Harbor.
For drivers, Sky Harbor did post this tip on their website. Pay attention to overhead freeway signs. They'll alert you to traffic accidents and alternate routes if there are any. Also, watch your speed and keep an eye out for officers directing traffic once you get to the airport. If you're wondering what's the best day to fly, it's tomorrow, with just 1.79 million people flying on the actual holiday.
But again, the biggest concern this year is the wintry weather. Cronkite News' Jordan Evans is joining us now with the latest on the wintry storms sweeping across the country right now. Jordan?
Thank you, Madison. And yes, in fact, in speaking about those airport delays right now, this is what we're looking at across the country. Here in Phoenix, we've got minor delays, just typical of the busiest travel day of the year. But the big concern is out to the west, and this is where our storm system is coming from. And it's already taken a toll on a lot of those major airports in San Francisco, Portland, and Las Vegas, too. So if you are traveling out there tonight, anticipate some delays, or if you have family coming from there, too, they will likely be late getting into Phoenix Sky Harbor. So let's talk about the storm system going forward. In fact, this is a similar pattern, kind of what we had last week. We've got two coming in together. Here's this first one coming up from the southwest, bringing in some rich moisture with it, which is why showers will be mainly focused across southeastern Arizona later this afternoon, before that thing scoots out of here later tonight. And here comes our stronger one from the northwest. This is the bomb cyclone we were talking about earlier, and it's going to bring in some wind, heavy snow, rain, and lots of cold air with it. In fact, temperatures are going to be the coldest they have been so far this season. By the weekend, we'll track it all out for you coming up here in just minutes.
For continuing coverage of our travel chaos and wintry weather throughout the Thanksgiving holiday, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org. How far do civil rights protections go?
Not far enough, say advocates for LGBTQ people, who are pushing Congress to include sexual orientation and gender identity in the Civil Rights Act.
Hannah Ehrlich in our Washington Bureau reports on the most recent push.
Discrimination in housing, hiring, lending, even access to a homeless shelter. Advocates say those are more likely to happen to LGBTQ individuals. The solution, say supporters like Alfonso David of the Human Rights Campaign, is passing the Equality Act.
And if you're seeking to apply for a mortgage or you're going through the lending process, not actually correspond to your gender expression, you face additional obstacles, which is one of the reasons why we're pushing so hard to pass the Equality Act.
The act would address not just housing, but any form of discrimination by adding sexual orientation and gender identity to the classes protected under the Civil Rights Act. Supporters say federal law is needed to protect people across the country from discrimination. Texas Congressman Al Green has sponsored a bill, the Fair Lending for All Act, that aims specifically at discriminating in home lending, but he supports the broader Equality Act as a necessary nationwide protection.
People who discriminate have to be called out. They have to be dealt with. It's time for us to move to the next level in this fight, and the next level includes criminal penalties for stealing, for the theft of my opportunity to have a loan.
But critics fear that while the Equality Act will protect one community, it may just end up discriminating against a different community. Emily Cow, the director for religion and civil society at the Heritage Foundation, says these sexual orientation and gender identity laws could be used against those with traditional beliefs.
What it does is it creates a sword for the government to punish people who have traditional beliefs, sometimes based on religion, sometimes based on biology, about either marriage or family or just biological sex.
Harper Jean Tobin says those fears are unfounded. And Tobin, the director of policy at the National Center for Transgender Equality, says the threats to LGBTQ people are very real.
This is about a very simple issue. Is it or is it not okay to evict someone, to not sell them a home, to not rent them an apartment because they're transgender, or because their partner or their child is transgender? Most Americans would say that's wrong and we shouldn't allow it.
In Washington, Hannah Ehrlich, Cronkite News.
The Equality Act was a top priority for Democrats after they took back control of the House this year. The bill passed the House back in May on a mostly party line vote, but since then it is stalled in the Senate, where it has gone 6 months without a hearing.
Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has set his sights on Arizona, officially filing for our primary election slated for next March. He made remarks from a Mexican restaurant in Phoenix yesterday, saying he was underwhelmed by the already long list of Democratic candidates. The billionaire formally announced his bid for the White House this past weekend, making Arizona the second stop on his campaign trail. Bloomberg said Arizona is a key state in the Democratic efforts to take back the presidency. Last week, his campaign reserved at least $640,000 worth of TV time in Phoenix and Tucson for ads set through the beginning of December.
So service dogs can be beneficial to many people, including veterans.
Cronkite News reporter Rio Painter is joining us now. She met with Soldier's Best Friend to see what goes into training a service dog for a service member.
At Soldier's Best Friend, their mission is to help military veterans who have post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic brain injury. They help by pairing and training both the owner and the dog. Soldier's Best Friend Training Center is located on 75th Avenue, just north of Thunderbird Road. There is a process for beginning training. Veterans who are diagnosed with PTSD or TBI will need to apply for admissions to the program. From there, they will be evaluated to determine the level of training the dog will need. The veterans will then choose to be paired with a rescue dog or bring their own personal dog. Training for the team is the next step in the process and can last anywhere from 6 to 9 months.
They start off learning basic obedience to create a good foundation for the team. And then once they pass the Canine Good Citizen test, they start going out into public with their trainer and going to specific places to learn how to handle their dog in those different environments.
For each team, the trainers look at what is needed. If the veteran needs more physical help, they'll usually pair them with a larger dog that can accommodate those needs. During training, dogs are taught to watch for symptoms like night terrors, panic attacks, depression, anxiety, and more. Longtime trainer Lisa Rosenberg believes that they are saving 2 lives, the dogs and the veterans.
I've had comments like, I was afraid to leave my home. I was afraid to go to sleep at night. I slept on the floor. And suddenly they have these beings that are so tuned into them after training that they have a whole new life ahead of them. They go shopping, they go to the movies, they go wherever anybody else goes. And it's really a lifesaver for the vet and obviously for the dogs.
Each team attends individual training and group training. This allows the dogs to learn to keep focus on their owner and not the other dogs and people around them. Training is offered in Phoenix, Tucson, Flagstaff, Prescott, and Sierra Vista. There is no cost to the veteran for adopting or training. Those who think they may qualify or know someone that might can reach out to the company through soldiersbestfriends.org. Rio Painter, Cronkite News.
Have a joyous Thanksgiving. We are incredibly blessed to live in Arizona, and just have a great time with it.
Coming up next on Cronkite News at 5, we take you to Washington, D.C., where we asked Arizona lawmakers what they're thankful for this tumultuous political year.
And are you ready for the Black Friday rush? This year's sales are expected to be higher than ever. We'll tell you what to buy and what you should wait on after the break.
The weather around Phoenix is just beautiful today. Let's take a look at the weather around the valley.
Thank you for joining us for the special edition of Cronkite News. Here are the top stories that we're tracking today at noon.
Some of the best players for their program.
Plastic is all around us, and we use it every day.
We're turning this place into planet plastic.
From our cups to our phones to our cars. But when we're done with it, plastic doesn't just disappear. Most of the plastic made over the last 70 years is still here. How our plastic habit has grown, and how to break our plastic addiction. The plastic problem.
There are a lot of words associated with life in Washington. Thanks is usually not one of them.
But everybody finds something to be thankful for this time of year. And members of Arizona's congressional delegation are no different. As Heather Cumberledge reports from our Washington Bureau.
With all the chaos going on in Washington, it can be hard to be grateful. That's why these Arizona lawmakers are looking close to home.
I am grateful for so many things this year. I'm grateful for the opportunity to represent the best district in the United States of America, CD9. I'm grateful for my family and my children. And I'm grateful that the Phoenix Suns look like they're going to be pretty good this year. It's been a long time. I'm excited about that.
I'm so thankful for my family. I have 3 grandsons under the age of 4. I have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and they're just the joy of my life. My husband and I enjoy them so much. In fact, my husband said, "Oh, I know now why we had children, so we could have grandchildren."
I am blessed. I have the world's most perfect little girl. She just turned 4 years old. And it's hard to describe how joyful that is. My wife and I waited a long time, and I never thought I could have that much fun.
I'm thankful for my family, my dad, who is so hardworking and passed away when I was 12, and just the opportunities that I've had in life because of him and my mom and their hard work. I'm thankful for the freedoms that we have in America, and I'm thankful for our men and women in uniform who service every day to protect those freedoms.
Be inclusionary of other people versus exclusionary. I think those are the big message I would leave with people. It's a time of giving, a time of celebrating all the great things that we have, and including people into our families, bringing those out from the cold, those that are homeless, showing them that there's want and that there's need to be around community. I think that's great things about Thanksgiving, and I would implore everybody to join in.
Well, we all get together for Thanksgiving. I'm happy for the health of my family, trying to make sure that our country does better. I'm thankful very much for the fact that I was born in America.
They all shared one message.
Have a joyous Thanksgiving. We are incredibly blessed to live in Arizona, and just have a great time with it.
In Washington, Heather Cumberledge, Cronkite News.
Those folks might have been smiling because Congress is out on its Thanksgiving recess this week, but they get back to the grind and return to the impeachment hearings, among other business, next week.
Online sales began long before the turkey was set to defrost, with shoppers expected to spend over $7.5 billion on deals and steals this season, according to the Adobe Analytics. That's a 20% increase from last year's spending. The reason? A shorter shopping period, with only 26 days between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So what should you buy on Black Friday? Experts say look for deals on TVs, gaming consoles, and smart home devices. Wait closer to Christmas to buy your toys and games.
Up next, more monarch butterflies are migrating to Arizona.
How can you help prepare for their arrival as they search for a winter home in the desert?
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Nearly a year ago, the Western Association of Fish and Wildlife Agencies created a plan to help conserve the declining population of western monarch butterflies.
As a part of this plan, volunteers gathered in southeast Arizona to plant milkweed. Cronkite News reporter Melanie Porter went to Whitewater Draw Wildlife Area in McNeil, Arizona to find out how essential milkweed is to monarch survival.
It was a little more stuck than they had mentioned.
Ariana Tamayo is one of the volunteers who gathered this month to help prepare the way for monarch butterflies. Most monarchs migrate further south in late October and November, but researchers have found more monarchs staying in Arizona because of our ideal winter climate.
They hang on trees and it's almost like a honeycomb of them.
She remembers seeing monarchs in Mexico as a child. That's why she's volunteering to plant milkweed.
It's pretty amazing.
Arizona is a popular spot for monarchs on their way south. Most of them will end up in California for the winter.
There have been about 18,500 monarchs tagged, most of those in Arizona.
Volunteers are gathered today to help prepare the way for monarch butterflies by planting milkweed. But as I've learned today, milkweed is completely dependent on the correct amount of water.
We can add milkweed. We can make sure milkweed's available for monarchs. We can make sure nectar is available for the fall migration when they come through. We have no power over the weather. And I think we all know how dry our summer monsoon was. Well, that affects the plants, the very plants that monarchs are laying their eggs on.
This past summer was especially dry, which meant milkweed struggled to survive. Oh my goodness, okay.
See those beautiful roots? That's exactly what they're supposed to look like, nice white roots.
I handed over the camera and helped plant some milkweed. They're easy enough to plant, but they have a long road ahead before monarchs make their mark.
Go ahead, let go of it. That's about perfect depth.
So what comes next? Next year, we'll be looking at monitoring. So we'll come back, take a look at all of the milkweed locations that we planted, see what kind of mortality we had. With any habitat restoration effort, you do expect a certain amount of mortality.
While the numbers are down, they're here. And to me, that always gives that gift of hope that population could rebound.
The most recent Western monarch count done late last year found that the percentage of monarchs overwintering in California fell to its lowest level ever recorded. Still, experts are optimistic that monarchs will come back stronger than ever before because of conservation efforts. In McNeil, Melanie Porter, Cronkite News.
The Arizona Game and Fish Department will have a few more opportunities in the coming months for volunteers to go to a wildlife area and plant milkweed. Event details can be found on their website.
Right now, Thanksgiving travelers are being derailed by what meteorologists are calling a bomb cyclone, hammering much of the West Coast and the Midwest.
So what makes it a bomb cyclone? Cronkite weather reporter Jordan Evans joins us live in the studio to tell us what exactly is a bomb cyclone.
So yeah, the bomb cyclone, it's whenever a storm, an area of low pressure, intensifies 24 millibars in 24 hours. So the lower that number drops, the millibar number drops, then the more intensifying the storm will be. So actually that specific cyclone we saw impact the West Coast yesterday was about as equally as strong as a Category 1 hurricane. So
wow.
Yeah.
Is that cyclone going to be affecting us here in Phoenix?
Yes, so that is the storm that's actually going to be impacting our Thanksgiving forecast. So let's take a look at that right now. In fact, today, here come the clouds from the southwest, and we're going to keep those with us really for all the way into the weekend. This storm is going to be sticking around for a while. So there's a live look at Litchfield Park and all the travelers heading out towards Los Angeles along I-10 as they get ready for Thanksgiving travel. And temperatures at Sky Harbor in the 60s still, and that dew point will continue to climb as moisture continues to filter into our state. So here's a look at Futurecast. In fact, down to the southeast, we're going to see rain showers filter in throughout the afternoon because we've got 2 storm systems coming in, and that first one will stay off to the east. Our big event comes in on Thanksgiving Day itself, so scattered showers in the morning, becoming a lot more widespread throughout the afternoon. By the evening hours, that's when the cold front begins to move through and rain transitions to snow across the high country. In fact, we're talking about a lot of snow for the high country. This is a big blockbuster event. We're talking about several inches, if not feet possible up there. But here in the valley for Thanksgiving Day, widespread rain beginning in the afternoon, and some minor street flooding could be anticipated too. We've got flash flood watches in effect until about Friday evening, and winds will pick up too, anywhere from 30 to 40 miles per hour after 3 o'clock tomorrow before that cold front comes through. For Black Friday shopping, anticipate a wet and soggy day. Make sure you're taking umbrellas and jackets with you because temperatures will be cool and gusty winds too. Still out of the northwest at about 25 miles per hour. So for snow totals up in the high country, we're talking about snow totals by the feet in some spots, especially down along the rim and all these pink and purple shadings. And even Sedona, Prescott, and Saline can still pick up on a few inches too because the snow level is actually going to drop all the way down to about 4,500 feet by Friday morning. So I'm anticipating moderate to heavy snow throughout the day on Friday, and it's all going to start in Flagstaff as early as tomorrow afternoon after 2 o'clock because the snow level will continue to fall throughout the afternoon there. So not looking good. Make sure you're avoiding travel on Thursday and Friday because road conditions are just not going to be great across the high country. For Thanksgiving planner here in the valley, 60s throughout the day, so we're going to stay a little bit cooler than where we should be this time of year. And across the country, really everyone's going to be pretty chilly this Thanksgiving holiday. Check out Kansas City, for example, 34 degrees. The only pleasant spot this holiday season is going to be down in Florida, where they'll be maintaining those mid to upper 80s there across the Florida Panhandle. So here's a look at that Thanksgiving forecast in a little bit more detail here in the Valley of the Sun, with temperatures in the 53 degrees there, and we'll see those highs climb all the way up into the 60s. So again, cold and wet for this Thanksgiving holiday.
One Arizona business is working to make the bookstore experience a more inclusive one.
When we come back, see how they're going above and beyond to make space for the young readers on the autism spectrum.
On the next Arizona Horizon, the latest news on healthcare policy, including the push for transparency in healthcare prices. And we'll preview a PBS NewsHour focus on the plastic problem. It's on the next Arizona Horizon.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, a bleak forecast, the UN's stark warning on how to mitigate the climate crisis. Coming up after Cronkite News and Arizona Horizon on Arizona PBS.
Here in the U.S., about 1 out of every 60 children are diagnosed with some form of autism spectrum disorder.
And of those children can feel left out of experiences such as going to the store because of sensory issues.
As Delaney White reports, one local bookstore is trying to change that.
Enchanted Chapters, a children's bookstore in Phoenix, makes the experience of shopping more inclusive for kids on the autism spectrum. The owner spoke about why she felt the need to create this store in the Valley.
We started it because ultimately I have 2 children with autism. Both of them are nonverbal, and we had a difficult time really going anywhere in public, and we kind of felt like we were missing out on so many things and milestones, even more so because we weren't able to do the things that other people were able to do.
The store caters to the specific needs of its patrons in many different ways. They provide a community space where children can go to play or to have quiet time while their parents shop. They try to keep things in the same spot and make the experience predictable to avoid upset.
For my kids specifically, for them, they have a lot of sensory issues. My daughter, it's loud noises, bright lights.
The owner drew from personal experiences when designing the store in order to create the most inclusive space possible.
We keep the lights pretty dimly lit. We use a lower fluorescent so that it's not as bright in here. We do have animals that the kids love. They like to play with Bella, and then we have Potter, our bird, and that just kind of creates a distraction.
James Filoso, a customer on the spectrum, likes that the store has reading material he can relate to his own life.
Julia has a book called We're Amazing 1, 2, 3. It teaches some stuff that some of the symptoms of autism, like there's a part where there's a blender and Julia covers her ears because she's really sensitive to loud sounds, just like my brother Drew is.
What's the matter? Asks Abby. Julia has really good ears, Elmo explains. Sometimes she hears noises that Elmo doesn't notice, like the noise the blender makes. She really doesn't like it.
I have 4 children. James is the oldest, and they're all on the autism spectrum. And so we came to an event here. So it was a very friendly environment for my kids, and if someone needed to yell or run around or do some stimming or leave the room, nobody blinked an eye because it's a friendly environment for kids on the spectrum.
This inclusive space isn't just for children on the spectrum. It can be a helpful place for parents too.
It's a relief. There are not many places that I take all 4 of my kids at the same time, but this is one that I feel that I can.
In Phoenix, Delaney White, Cronkite News.
Enchanted Chapters holds many different events each month for toddlers, children, teens, and adults.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight.
Thank you for joining us.